Nice. Good to see you. Sorry for the error, but Zoom just kind of went nutso, okay? I don't know where my face is, but I'll work on finding it. But we need to get going and celebrate that Henry and Shayla are with us this morning. And so let's take over. Can I, everybody okay? Yes? Okay, you can't even see me, so I'm just asking you. Okay. Mike's working so that you can do Q&A. Can we test those out real quickly? Presley, can you say something?
Hi.
Great. Kyle, can you say something?
Hi.
Okay, good. All right. Jayla, Henry, are you doing all right?
Doing great.
Okay, you know the name of the game is adaption, right? So I'll play around with my face, and you have received a list of just questions that I had proposed to you. And as you know, I want you to be spontaneous, be yourself, share your beautiful hearts, okay? So you want to just, both of you, just begin with talking about your story and how you perhaps want to share your story in relationship to anything that's connected to CSU or your family or life, and then where that's taking you at this present time in relationship to education and work.
Shayla, you want to go
Go
first?
ahead, Henry. You got it.
So a little bit of background about myself. I graduated in May of 2020, so I'm a COVID grad. Definitely not the ideal scenario or ideal circumstances to graduate in, but it is what it is. Like Dr. Sabbath said, adaptation is key. That's the, I feel like that's kind of what everybody's been living through for the past year and a half. So I graduated in May. Right after graduation, I immediately try to hit the ground running. I mean, I had a job offer before I graduated with Enterprise, so the car rental company. It was like a marketing management position that I interned for them over the summer in between junior and senior year. Received the offer before I graduated. COVID hit, they stripped the offer from me and pretty much said like, hey, you're on your own. So it was eye-opening, it was shocking, but I mean, nonetheless, we were in a pandemic, so I feel like a lot of people didn't really expect what was going on. So I kind of had to adjust and persevere through some things. I mean, with being in between Fort Collins and Denver, I still had rent to pay, and so I had to make things shake a little bit and figure things out. But nonetheless, I ended up moving back to Denver, in with my parents, and just hit the job market tough, applying for everything, anything. My original plan was to attend law school, but I didn't know how I felt about going to law school with COVID. I didn't want to do a virtual law school. I mean, all the lawyers and law school students that I would talk to, they're like, I mean, it's all, you have to be in the classroom to get that full experience. So I was really kind of doubting the going to law school during COVID type of deal. And so I kind of just took a step back. It was like, I'm gonna just try to get a job, try to stack some money. And so I hit the ground running within the job market, just started applying. About 3 months in so I received my job that I'm here now during August. So April, May, June, July, August, yeah, about 3 months. I received a job, and what I'm doing now is some account management / recruiting with a talent solutions company. So it's pretty cool. Definitely a great job for, a new fresh college grad to enter the corporate / professional world. Definitely fun, having a lot of fun, and making some money too as well. But in the meantime, I did start thinking more so about my purpose, about what I want to do in life, which is obviously become a legal scholar slash go pursue a career in law. So I'm currently studying for the LSAT right now. I actually take the LSAT in a month exactly. So it's exciting slash nerve wracking, but it's definitely something that I feel like I'm ready for, just given the circumstances and the amount of studying I've been doing. So I definitely feel like I'm ready for it. But yeah, that's kind of the stage that I'm at in my life. I definitely I'm not where I want to be, but I feel like, someone who's 23 years old, and probably the same age as you guys, 21, 22 or whatever, we're not going to be where we want to be right now. So definitely just keeping a positive head on my shoulders and being optimistic about everything. Shayla?
Yeah, so I really like how Henry has his perspective because we kind of took two different paths. I'm also a COVID graduate, so we both graduated in May of 2020. He kind of took the corporate route, and I'm actually in grad school right now. So when I was in my senior year, I knew I wanted to go to graduate school. Obviously, when COVID hit, I was kind of hesitant to go to grad school because I knew I wanted to go out of state. And I just didn't know how that was going to look, obviously, because everything was new. We were still trying to adapt and adjust to everything. So I ended up applying to graduate school at Georgia State University, which I currently attend. And I also applied to the University of Georgia. I was also accepted there. But obviously, grad school is super expensive. And so I was trying to figure out kind of how the cost was going to go for me. So I was applying to something called a graduate assistantship. If you're not familiar with those, when you're a grad student, obviously it's more expensive and universities don't give you as much aid as an undergraduate program does. So a graduate assistant is basically your job, and they will pay for your schooling as well as give you a monthly stipend. So I was applying to everything I could. I reached out to everyone I could at UGA, at GSU, and I was just told, like, with COVID being here, all the opportunities are super limited. So I didn't know if I was going to have the chance to even get a position or anything. So I kind of started doubting myself and like my plan for what I wanted to do. So after being told no a million times, I reached out to everyone I could at both schools. I actually had an interview with a local school that I would be working at if I got the position. And they told me they ended up going with someone else, but they still wanted to offer me a job. But I wasn't in the city, clearly. I wasn't in Atlanta. So at that point, I was basically thinking, like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should just stay in Colorado. Maybe that's the path I have to take. And so the next day, I actually got offered an interview. Literally the next day after I got told no, after I thought I was done, I got offered an interview to work as the GA for my program. I study sport administration. So basically my job is to handle all communications of the program. So emails, I send out opportunities, I create events for our program, just handle all our social media. So kind of just make us visible. But I ended up securing that position, and she told me, hey, I need you down here in the next 2 weeks. So obviously you can assume that I was kind of freaked out because I've lived in Colorado all my life. I was ready to leave the state, but I wasn't ready to go in 2 weeks. I hadn't looked at any apartments or anything. So I ended up finding an apartment online. I didn't even get to tour it or anything. I kind of just moved spontaneously in the middle of COVID. I drove across the country. Took me like 2 days to get here. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at today. So I started my second semester. It's been going great. I think I've had many great experiences. I just got back from being in Florida over the weekend. I worked a basketball tournament and got to make a lot of connections there. I'll be interning with the Atlanta Braves this summer for their All-Star game. I'll be a volunteer for that. So just having a lot of opportunity despite COVID and trying to figure out my life in the world that we're in today. But we're making it work.
Well, thank you very much. I've still been playing with my picture, so I guess you're not going to get to see me today, but thank you, inspiring. I did put woohoo on the chat because Shayla and I were in regular communication during this roller coaster ride that was going on. And she literally called me on the phone, and wow, there were like multiple emotions going on, right? And so a lot of excitement. And that was like 2 weeks of really no control, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
And
it was definitely crazy.
yes, yes. And so let's just jump in. Why are you focused on graduate degrees in your personal and career development? Why? Because, gang, in senior capstone, I don't know, can we use the golden hand? And can you show me how many of you are thinking within 2 years you may be entering grad school? Because there's some of you that just want to get out there and don't want anything about grad school happening. So how many of you are thinking? So 3, 4. Okay, cool. So 5 maybe. Okay, so, and it's going to be true that some of you are out 4 years or 3 years and you're going, oh, I think I want to go back. So I've seen that happen quite a bit. All right, so the question is why? Real quick, maybe more brief, why did you choose to go back to school?
So for me, I think with a communications degree, it's very, very, very broad. We can basically do anything we want. We have those skills and can take them anywhere. For me, I got involved in sports my senior year, and I was very heavily involved in community work. So I realized that I kind of I wanted to combine the two and kind of work in community relations for a sports organization. So I figured, why not go to school in the sports area? I already know all my skills in communication, so I'm just going to merge them together and hopefully be able to get my foot in the door for a big organization in the future.
Thank you. Henry, how come? Because I know law school's big.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's big. Me personally, I have family members that's in the legal industry. My sister actually, she's a DA in Denver, and I've always been interested in law, and I've always been an advocate for education, for really chasing your dreams. So like Shayla said, communications, it's a broad major, so you can really do anything with it. Mind you, you can get a law degree with a undergrad in English or an undergrad in theater. So typically the bachelor's doesn't really matter for the career path that I'm trying to take, but it does matter because you need your bachelor's. So um, I definitely feel like myself, I'm pursuing law just because of my own personal interest. I've always been one that's, I used to always watch Cops or Law and Order or How to Get Away with Murder. And it's just always been something that's struck my interest. And I mean, it's like I'm only 23 years old, so you might as well chase your dreams. That's kind of how I look at it. So I definitely feel like I'm pursuing it just for myself, and it's kind of what I want to do with my life, really.
Thank you. And as you're, I'll just throw you a tidbit because I'm writing you a recommendation letter. So I'll just throw you out a notice that when you're writing that entrance letter, remember about your rhetorical skills, and you are going to make a good attorney because of all your background in the basics of debate and all of that. So you've got a lot going for you.
Yeah, well, and I minored in legal studies, so I kind of got a taste of.
There you go. Yeah.
I got a taste of that. I mean, it was a slight taste, but it was some of the legal endeavors that I could pursue, and I was in mock trials and stuff like that, and was able to amplify my skills of being able to talk in front of people, and like you said, the rhetorical side of things. So it was fun, definitely experimenting with that, but I definitely want to take it to the next level for sure.
Nice. Okay. So what surprised you the most about any transition? I mean, I think we're all in COVID, so you might not have a lot to say about this because this has been 1 year out, but any thoughts about any shock about just the transition?
I would say for me, I mean, everything was, a shock. I said, like, I just drove across the country to live in Atlanta during the pandemic. So, um, obviously, Colorado's more shut down than Atlanta. So, um, just like navigating through the city, I think trying to focus on my schooling and stuff. Really a big transition, just starting grad school online. Obviously, I didn't even take an online class until we went virtual after COVID hit. So I wasn't used to like the whole life. So I think just getting adjusted to that, while also still trying to make connections with people, trying to meet new people, trying to get my foot in the door to places I could. That was probably the biggest shock for me, and kind of how to adjust to doing that in this new environment that we're living in.
Yeah, I would have to agree, but I also had like two transitions in a sense, just because I had the transition of graduating and then entering the corporate world during COVID, and then also the transition of, okay, I got to experience some of the corporate world. I got to make some money for the meantime, and now I want to transition into pursuing kind of what I want to do, which is my legal career. So I feel like the hardest between those two was for sure just being able to adjust and persevere through things that's really out of your control. So having a job opportunity stripped from me before I even graduate, that was tough. And then telling myself like, hey, I'm gonna just work for a year, stack up as much money as I can, and then try to go to law school. And I've only been working for about 6 to 7 months, and I'm already about to take the LSAT and try to go to law school in August. So that was another transition. It was like a switch just kind of flipped where it was like, yeah, I kind of want to just get the ball rolling with that. So it was two transitions for me, and obviously COVID, doing all this during COVID is not easy at all. So it's definitely been hard, but at the same time, I feel like the human nature, we adjust to everything. So it's something that kind of came naturally. So
Thank you. Okay. The students are at a point of, I think, of their issues on, or their incorporation, I should say, of mentoring and networking are really essential at this point. And so could you provide some perspectives on what perhaps you learned while getting your education in undergrad or since then? Just give some insights on your perspectives on networking and mentoring.
yeah, I mean, I could definitely go first with that. Just networking is probably the biggest thing that I've got out of my undergraduate career. I mean, besides the basic fundamentals of a higher education, but networking is for sure a big piece of that, just because it's really not what you know, it's who you know. And I mean, for more specified careers such as like a doctor or something like that, obviously you need to know certain things. But um, I mean, not 9 times out of 10, a lot of the connections and a lot of the opportunities that I've had and made was just based off me talking to people and me being able to step outside of my comfort zone and step outside of my bubble and to just initiate a conversation of just pure interest. Especially pursuing law. I've probably talked to over 10 different type of lawyers just to see what's the coolest facet of law, or what's the most interesting for myself, and what makes the most money, what's the drawbacks with having this position in your legal career. So, and then throughout just being interested in being curious and asking these questions, these people, they see the potential that you have, and they see that, wow, I mean, he's interested, he's trying to learn. So then that creates a bond, they kind of take you under their wing, and that creates a mentorship. So it's networking is key. It just builds so many bridges, builds so many relationships, and builds so many connections that you can't really go wrong with it. And I definitely say undergraduate, being a student at CSU and being a president of a fraternity and kind of being just doing all these different things, it allowed me to truly learn how to network, and it gave me the upper hand, especially going into a corporate job of, you know, some people don't even know how to communicate with different type of demographics. And I definitely feel like undergraduate, it helped me a lot for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything Henry said. Like, I know you probably hear it all the time, but networking really is huge. Like he said, like it's not what you know, it's who you know. Getting your foot in the door is extremely important. I mean, when you're an undergrad, you're basically building your resume. So like taking any opportunity you can, not only are you getting those experiences, but you're making connections with your classmates, with people in actual organizations, and building relationships with people that may want you in the future. So I just think it's really important to take like those opportunities serious right now, because I mean, it means a lot in the future. And especially on the mentoring aspect, as a first generation student, I mean, I came to college, didn't really know what I was doing. And then I get to the end in like 2 seconds. I mean, you guys know how fast your senior year goes, and you're all of a sudden you're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. So I actually reached out to Dr. Sabbath to kind of help me with a mentorship type role. And it can be scary asking for help, but I don't think y'all should be scared at all, because it's not saying like I need you to help me, but it kind of, a mentor just serves as a guide for you. So like I wouldn't be where I am today without help from mentors like Dr. Sabbath and other professors that I built relationships with. And it's not just using them for that present time, but you're also building that connection for the future. Dr. Sabbath and I stay in contact all the time. I still talk to people from the university. It's extremely important. I said how I was in Florida last weekend. I actually was able to work with the chief of communications for the Sunbelt Conference, which is huge. And she works in New Orleans, and was telling me, you know, like she gave me her business card. She's like, if you need anything in the future, you come to New Orleans, like let's stay in contact, you know? And it's like those relationships are so important, because that's exactly what you need and what you're looking for in the future. So definitely make sure that you're not afraid to ask, to reach out, and just build relationships with people, because it's super, super, super beneficial.
Wow, those were great questions. I'm glad we have you on recording. So I think that you're just going to see more and more of that evolve too. And I was happy to work with both of you while here and for a long, long time. So I'm going to jump into the questions about your experience at CSU. I thought maybe the capstone seniors might have some interest in you sharing some difficulties. So of course, it's up to you how personal or how, at what level you talk about this. But if you could share some of the things that you found as difficult and what kind of advice or perspective you'd like to share with them, might really be of interest.
I mean, I could go. I
You
definitely,
can go. I'm still thinking.
yeah, there's I mean, you can't really pinpoint obviously because there's so many people here, so that's a lot of personalities, a lot of things going on in their lives. So I feel like there's difficulties everywhere. I mean, I had, you know, difficulties with certain classes, or, you know, then there's outside perspectives of life happening, and then COVID, and then you're worrying about, okay, what am I going to do after graduation? Am I going to go to grad school? So it's a lot of worriness and, um, you know, just kind of the unknown. So some people might get high anxiety because of that. And so there's a lot of difficulties that come along with graduating, especially because time waits for nobody. So it's like, you know, it's going to happen. So I personally feel like what helped me with kind of weighing everything out was just taking it day by day and making sure you're doing something to be better every day. I mean, making sure you're on top of your schoolwork, making sure you're applying. You can apply for jobs right now. You know, that's probably my biggest thing. I was a sophomore. I transferred to CSU. So I played basketball in Nebraska and then I transferred to CSU. I was a freshman, a second year freshman coming into CSU, going to the job fairs with seniors and stuff. Like I was just doing the extra step just so I can set myself up for, success. So I definitely feel like it's beneficial to just put in the extra work that other people might not be doing. It's fun to party, definitely. Everybody in Fort Collins is having fun and stuff like that, but it's good to just set aside some time to focus on what you want to do and to set yourself up for success in the future. So I feel like those difficulties just come with me personally, was just being inside of my head and focusing on what matters most, really. So I definitely would say, if I'm gonna leave with anything, I would definitely leave with, like, set yourself up for the greater good for your future now. So apply to jobs, apply to internships. If you're thinking about grad school, research what grad school you want to go to. You could cold call schools and see what does it take to get in there. What is, and make those connections. Like Dr. Sabbath is a great connection to make. She's helped me in a lot of ways that she probably wouldn't even understand. So it's definitely those difficulties that you're facing now is something that somebody else has been through, and there's definitely brighter outcomes. So I would just say focus on what matters most, and you can only control what you can control.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would say for me during undergrad, my biggest difficulty was probably work-life balance. Like, especially in your senior year, I think that was the hardest year because it's like you're exhausted, your senioritis hits different. I understand, I have been there, but I think just staying motivated because I mean, you're almost done and there's no point in not putting in effort towards the end because I think your effort matters most in the end, to be honest, because you always want to finish strong no matter what. Um, so I think just trying to battle my stress, I think I started finding ways to make sure that I was taking care of myself because I think a lot of the times we're kind of always trying to be on go. I kind of have that mentality that I can't stop until I finish something. But I've definitely changed my mindset with that because I realized that I can't give my best effort if I'm not taking care of myself. If I'm not taking breaks, go for a walk, like just do whatever you can to take care of yourself, It's going to be important to put in that work and keep going, but also just make sure you're focusing on you because you just can't be successful if you're not right with yourself.
Well, those answers were terrific. Thank you so much. I would like to open it up to Q&A. There's some other questions, of course, I'd laid out for you, but I think that I'd like to hear some other voices. So, students, what kinds of things would you like to ask Shayla and Henry, or one of them?
My first question would be just like, what was your original thinking when you chose law? Like, what made you choose the minor?
Is that Griffin?
Yeah.
If you can, pop up your camera so they can talk with you.
So really I declared legal studies minor my junior year. It was either my sophomore year or junior year. And what happened was I was just, kind of in between of, okay, should I pursue law? Or am I even interested in law? I've always been interested, but do I really want to do that? And I feel like what made me choose the legal studies minor is just being curious, being, just simply asking questions and seeing what does it take to minor in legal studies. I looked at the classes. I saw, I took philosophy of law. I took federal Indian law. I took a business law class. I took a legal studies class. So I was just kind of seeing what type of classes went into the minor itself. And once I kind of mapped out a solid plan of, okay, I'm interested in this class. I'd like to take this class. I'd like to take that class. It's just a matter of just going and talking to my counselor, and then she said, yeah, you could do it. It fits with your schedule. You can, obviously, I think you need to minor in something too to have a communications degree at CSU. So it was just it all went hand in hand with myself, with my plan.
Right on. Thanks.
I was wondering if you felt like a lot more opportunities became available to you once you graduated, because I've noticed that almost all the jobs I've applied to have been like, oh, thank you so much for applying. We received your resume. However, we're looking to hire immediately for a full-time in-person position in like Denver, but that wasn't clarified before I applied. And so I don't know, I feel like more opportunities might arise for me once I graduate, whereas right now it's kind of hard to find something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I went through the same thing. I mean, I was applying for jobs when I was in undergrad, and they're like, well, we're looking for people that are, with X amount of experience, or with, you already graduated and stuff like that. So it's kind of case by case scenario. You got to just find the right company. Like the company I'm at right now, it's every person that comes in is a college graduate with, no experience, slim to none experience. So, and that's just the company I found, and it just really depends on where you're looking. I feel like, I mean, because LinkedIn's a solid place. You can even kind of customize your search to it. Indeed is a solid place. Even got like Career Builder, but yeah, it's hard because, I mean, when we were coming out of undergrad, we put 4 years of our life into this degree that we think like, okay, once we get the degree, we're good. We're gonna go get a solid job, make this amount of money and just have fun. It doesn't work out like that. It's you actually kind of have to put in the work and find that company and find that niche that you're good at, and really go towards it. But I mean, you don't even have to find that niche now, because I mean, I don't even know where I'm going to be in 10 years or so on and so forth. So it's really just about just applying yourself and applying everywhere. Really, I would definitely say like push out like 10 applications a day. Yeah, one's bound to hit.
Thank you.
I can't tell you that last statement, what great advice that is. Just continuously applying, because one of those is going to stick to the wall. One of those is going to get you an interview. So even if you can keep the mindset that this is like practice for the job that I'm really going to get. So every opportunity to have an interview is solidly putting you one step ahead or more.
Yeah, definitely interview experience. I probably underestimate, because when you get an interview, you're excited. You're like, yes, this might be the one. But I would go in just like take the interview as if it's a class. So try to learn as much as you can out that interview and see, go in there, kill it, crush it or whatever, but also see, okay, I could have did this better, or I probably should approach this, answered this question this way. So definitely the more interviews, the better, because once you kind of find that way, or that fluid motion of how you handle yourself, how you negotiate salary, how you kind of see what type of day-to-day responsibilities entails within the job, it's definitely for the better, for sure.
With that too, like if you see a job and there's something listed under their like responsibilities or something, and you may not know how to do it, or you think you're not capable, still apply. Like don't be discouraged and just like ignore the job, because 9 times out of 10, usually 10 times out of 10, you're gonna learn in that role. Like I've applied to so many jobs, like when I was trying to come to grad school and everything, and there were some things that I didn't like qualify for, even for my job now, but like I learned how to do it in my position. So just make sure you still go for it. Like, don't be discouraged at all.
Shayla, what was like your interest when you first wanted to get into sports? Like, what was like the first part at CSU that got you into that?
Yeah, so my first interest started actually when I started interning with the football team at CSU. So I worked as a recruiting intern. In my role, I did a lot of like behind the scenes of the games. I helped with recruit visits. I really got to expand like on my hospitality and again like my networking and connections. I was meeting people from everywhere. So I realized like everything I'm learning about building relationships and how to talk to people, all that stuff is what I'm doing in this job. So after I did that, I realized like, this is something I want to pursue in the future. I also played volleyball when I was younger. So I was like, I mean, sports are very interesting and it's a huge industry as well. So I thought, what better way to use my degree than towards something that is so huge, I guess you can say, especially in Atlanta. I knew I wanted to come here because the opportunity is like amazing here for sports. So definitely interning with football. And also I worked as an ambassador at CSU. So that just made me realize too that I just wanted to deal with people and be a part of like a huge organization because obviously CSU is huge. So that's kind of what got me interested.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Spread the wealth, gang.
Okay, this is kind of going back to when you're talking about interviews. It's not really like what you're getting out of it, but like what steps do you do to like get yourself prepared for interviews? Because it can be kind of intimidating.
Yeah, most definitely. Interviews are always nerve-wracking and with a certain company intimidating for sure. I would say my biggest thing for interviews is make sure you're prepared. So research the company, understand, what the company does as a whole, what is your job in specifically going to entail. Always come with questions. So 3 to 5 questions. Make sure you're writing down any type of question that pops into your brain. I feel like a lot of interviewers, whoever it is, hiring managers or supervisors or CEOs, executives, whoever's interviewing you, I feel like when you ask them questions and kind of put them on the spot and get curious about certain situations, that kind of strikes their interest. And obviously professionality, that's key, but I feel like everybody knows that. But definitely my 2 biggest things is research the company, understand what they do and what your job would be doing, see how your key aspects of your resume or whatever your experience is, how does that fit in well with your job. So being able to relate experiences, past, whatever you did in old jobs or something like that, how would that relate to the current position you're applying for, and then have questions ready to go. I definitely feel like that would help in the long run. And then negotiating. I mean, being young, a lot of people try to just throw a number at you and say, hey, this is it, this is set in stone, like take it or leave it. But definitely be firm and be able to negotiate your salary. I mean, I feel like a lot of the jobs that I applied for, they really tried to like kind of give me the lowest number. And when I just kind of said like, hey, that doesn't work for me. Are you guys flexible with your compensation packages? And there's ways to go about that, but definitely be ready to negotiate too. I feel like age doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with those two. I think another big thing for me is to self-reflect. You got to know yourself before you go into an interview, because you're not really trying to show them like, what can I do for you? You're trying to sell yourself, like what can I bring to the table for you? So just that kind of thing. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Just make sure you can really sell yourself because you want to stand out. Make sure you come in with the personality. I know it's hard not to be nervous, but just really be yourself and just know yourself really and research the company. That's a really big one for me too.
Can I ask the both of you, because your script right now is just sounding so mature, so prepared, so like just right out of the 10 ways to do this book. But so So did you or have you used things like meditation, exercise, reading, doing something funny? You know, you've probably heard me say that when I'm really stressed and I want to perform at my highest level, I go out and breathe in a tree so that I just get, you know, all that oxygen or whatever it is. And so, but it's a lot about that mindfulness too. So without getting too quirky, are there ways, and, you know, how do you get to that point that you get to that establishment of, okay, I've done all that I can do and I'm ready to go. But all this process for all the seniors, you know, can be extremely intimidating, especially in a time of COVID when maybe a lot of family members are not able to support the way they might have once been able to.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I definitely didn't read a 10 Ways to De-Stress book. So I feel like if you find a solid book like that, I should use it and really dive deeply into it. But me personally, I focus on making sure I surround myself with good company. So I believe in you know, positive vibes only. I'm strong with words of affirmations and really truly believing, you know, if you want something that you can do it. So really focusing on your mental is big with me. I've always been one to where if I just feel like there's a mental block or something's going on, I mean, I'm an avid hooper, so I go to the gym, I de-stress, I play basketball, I do herbal meditations. I definitely, there's ways of that I get around it just for myself, because there's, especially being 23, I feel like a lot of adults and more well-seasoned individuals don't understand that, you know, being in your mid-20s and trying to figure out your life, it gets stressful. It gets super stressful and overwhelming, and anxiety builds up of like, okay, what am I gonna do? What's gonna happen? You know, kind of try to control things that's out of your control. So it's definitely good, and it's key to really focus on things that you enjoy. So whether it's a hike, um, you know, playing baseball or tennis, or, you know, even I have a dog, so I'll take him to the dog park, throw the ball around with him. It's just do things to kind of de-stress for sure, because that is key. You can't overworking yourself, just it won't help. It won't help. You know, a lot of people think, you know, you just, like Shayla said, I'm the same type where it's like you want to keep going until the job is done. Sometimes the job's going to take a couple weeks to finish, so you got to make sure in between those periods of work you're taking time for yourself for sure.
Yeah, like I said earlier, self-care is huge for me as well. You know, I'll go get my nails done. I'll go to like a little massage place. Like, I take care of myself. There's one in Fort Collins, so if you need a recommendation, I got you. But yeah, just taking care of yourself, take a break, listen to some music, hang out with your friends. Like, all that stuff is so important. And I also want to stress to you guys too, like, just don't stress yourself out. Like, we all take different paths. You know, once you graduate, you kind of feel like you have to rush into something. Like, if you want to go to grad school, like, don't feel like you need to go right away. Like, take a year off if you need to, take a semester off, like, do your research and make sure it's something you really want to do. Cause like, it's a big commitment, you know, even with a job, like, make sure you're finding something. You're not going to get a job like that you specifically want to do, but it's starting somewhere and you're getting something on your resume and you're gaining experience. So don't feel like you need to rush into anything. I would say that's huge. That's just added so much unnecessary stress to me. It's the path that I took, but it really did add a lot of stress to me because I started thinking that I was doing something wrong. And take a break from social media, please. Like, don't compare yourself to other people in their paths, because that is going to add stress to you too. Just focus on yourself and, you know, do what you got to do.
We have about, I don't know, 5 minutes. So questions?
Shayla, I just have one more for you. I'm interested in going into sports myself, but I wasn't really able to get into much at CSU just because things weren't working out the same. But would you have any advice moving forward for me, like how I could get into that sports field that you're in?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, the biggest thing is, like, for you is really going to be networking. So, like, look up who's in control of, like, sport administration at CSU right now. I know Dr. Bimper is a great resource. Reach out to him, reach out to different teams, and, you know, talk to their communications department if that's what you're into. You just make yourself known, introduce yourself to people, reach out to universities that you may be interested in if you want to, you know, pursue your graduate degree. Make sure you're going up to like the head of the department and asking them questions. So then they're going to know you. And then when they see your application, they're going to think of you right away. That's what I did before I even started applying. I was asking people about their programs and seeing what I could do to make sure that I was known. So I would definitely make sure you're just, you know, like Henry said, just put in the work early. Some people like aren't doing it and they might be like waiting back, but you want to make yourself known. So just make sure you're making those connections.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's no pressing question right now, the words of social media popped out of your mouth, Shayla. So let's
Yes.
handle that real quick. How should I even ask it? How about you answer it in the way I'm just going to say social media, and then you do an essay for us in relationship to what does this mean and what does it mean going forward and what did it mean to you in the past? I don't know.
I would say social media is pressure. It is. It's a way for us to connect with each other and kind of see what we're doing. You know, some people post every little move that they're making. Some people kind of wait back. But like I said, just don't let social media control what's going on in your life. Like you should really focus on yourself because, like I said, it's just gonna add extra stress. Like if I look at Henry and like he was posting like, oh, I'm starting law school, I'm gonna be like, oh, well, why am I not doing that? Or I'm still in this position and he's doing way better than me. You know, like we always tend to do social comparisons. That's what social media does to us. So just like take a step back, focus on yourself, use it to laugh. I go on social media to just laugh at on Twitter, TikTok, whatever y'all do. But yeah, just focus on you. That's like the best thing I can say.
I agree. I mean, social media that it tends to get a little sticky. So, like, I sometimes I take breaks. I just delete the apps off my phone and just like, okay, I'm not going to be on social media for this month or however long I try to last up for it because it gets boring at times when you're just sitting there like, dang, I wish somebody might send you a video or something and you're like, man, I didn't get that because I don't have the app. But so it's definitely fun for certain type of dynamics, so comedy or even networking. I mean, you can network off social media easily too, but it's definitely there's pros and cons. I don't know if too many of you have seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix, but like that's when I watched that, I was like, yo, it's crazy because it's like the things that we're even watching is just out of our control to where, you might follow X, Y, and Z, but then ABC pops up and you're like, so it's like it's like micromanaged in a sense to where I didn't really like that. But I would definitely say social media is not that serious. It's literally just an app on your phone. Like your life is what matters most. So don't take it to the extreme.
And remember, people don't post their failures or like show what's going wrong. They only show what's going good. So like we're all going through our own struggles. So just don't focus on it too much.
Thank you. Great. So if there's no other questions, I would like you to just finish up our time with, there's been a lot of advice, there's been a lot of thoughts in terms of suggestions, but could you end, once you've talked through this, you know how brainstorming does, it kind of brings some of the stuff to the front. So any thoughts to send the capstone people on their way in relationship to suggestions?
I'll say just make sure you stay motivated. Like I said, I know senioritis is crazy, especially right now in COVID. Just stay motivated, finish strong, and make sure you're surrounding yourself with good people as well. I know my friends, I always kept people who were big motivators for me. You want to keep people who have goals. They're not going to be the same goals, but goal oriented. Like Henry said, him and I, we'd still have fun. We'd go to Old Town, but we'd go to career fairs together. We'd do our homework together and talked about our goals frequently with each other. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with good people, because that's going to start reflecting on you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I'm gonna leave here with is just making sure you're putting in the work, and what I suggest is, when you, like at work, we have a thing called A time, B time. What they introduced to me is, A time is kind of your fluid, you're in the motions, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and B time is kind of putting in that extra work. So, focus on that B time when you're in college, because I feel like there might be a lot of it, there might not be a lot of it, because you might be juggling work and school, but definitely prioritize those things that other people aren't really prioritizing. So whether it's applying for jobs, calling grad schools, doing whatever it is that you want to do to set yourself up for success, I feel like that goes a long way.
Terrific. Just invaluable information you've provided today. Can everybody get on camera, and so we can give these two applause and a thank you verbally, and so they can hear your noise?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys.
You guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, love, peace. You came and see me. I'm making symbols at you. And so you all take care, students, and Shayla and Henry, I'm indebted to you. So owe you one.
You've done enough. You have done enough for me.
As long as I can get that letter of rec, then we're good.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. All right. Okay. Peace out. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Bye, all. Thank you so much.